Incredible rescue. Discover how 12 red-crowned ostriches were saved from a hidden anaconda attack. The sun was just peeking over the horizon when Sarah felt the weight of the world bear down on her shoulders. A peaceful morning in Willow Creek quickly morphed into a waking nightmare. News had spread like wildfire through the quaint town. A massive anaconda had been spotted nearby, its massive body coiling through the lush greenery like a living shadow, a predator poised to feast on the 12 vibrant red-crowned ostriches that had once brought her so much joy. The zoo, once a haven of laughter and light, felt like a sinking ship, and she was the lone captain trying to keep it afloat. As Sarah tended to the animals, her heart ached. Memories of her husband, deployed overseas, flashed in her mind, their shared dreams of building a petting zoo that would be the pride of the community. Now, with the weight of the financial burden pressing hard on her, doubt crept into her bones. Could she keep this beloved place alive, especially now with a serpent lurking outside? She closed her eyes and inhaled deeply, trying to gather strength from the embrace of the barn animals around her. Tears pooled in her eyes, blurring her vision of the things she held dear. The sound of her children's laughter echoed from the play area, lifting the heavy gloom just a bit. 7-year-old Emma and her 5-year-old brother, Noah, marched bravely amongst the goats, a contagious determination glittering in their eager eyes as they rallied for their mother's side. "We'll help you, Mama." They chimed in unison, clutching toy shovels like swords. Touching her heart in that moment, they reminded her of the fierce love she fought for daily. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sarah felt a spark ignite in her chest. Would they really be a part of this? With their confidence bolstering her own, she laid out a plan: a makeshift barricade of hay bales and swift escapes, ensuring the ostriches would be protected. With every passing moment, though, anxiety clawed at her. What if she failed? The town had their doubts, their whispers, lingering like the scent of burnt toast. But then she remembered her father's words: always rally the community together, for true strength springs from unity. The night before the planned confrontation, Sarah lay awake, hearing the wind rustle through the leaves outside. It carried with it the weight of her anxieties, of not just saving the zoo but holding on to a piece of family she feared would slip away forever. She wasn't just fighting an anaconda, she was battling the fear of becoming the single mother of failed dreams. As dawn broke, she stood at the entrance of the zoo armed with courage and love. Would the townsfolk finally stand with her? Everything hinged on this day: their fate, her children's laughter, and the beating heart of Willow Creek itself. Suddenly, as the sun streamed in golden arches, she knew she had to show them. Not only for the animals but for herself, too. She had the power to inspire change. The gates of the zoo creaked open as Sarah stepped into the sunlight, and a sense of purpose filled her chest. The air was electric with anticipation. She could see familiar faces trickling in from the town, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. They had come. Maybe, just maybe, they believed in her. Emma and Noah raced ahead, adjusting their little tool belts filled with makeshift gadgets, ready to face the unexpected. "We've got your back, Mama," Emma shouted, her voice bright against the morning calm. Sarah couldn't help but smile at their infectious energy. Their innocence reminded her why she was fighting. This place was theirs, too. The townspeople gathered by the entrance, eyeing the barricades of hay bales. Grizzled farmers and young families stood shoulder to shoulder, united by a common cause. Sarah wiped her sweaty palms on her jeans and stepped forward, her heart tapping in anxious rhythm. "Thank you all for being here," she started, her voice trembling. "Today, this zoo isn't just an enclosure, it's a symbol of what we can protect together." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some looked skeptical, others supportive. She felt a swell of emotion pressing against her chest. "I know it sounds crazy. Fighting a snake with 12 ostriches at stake." Laughter erupted from a few, easing the tension slightly. A kind woman in the corner, Mrs. Thompson, piped up, "Well, if anyone can do it, it's you, Sarah." Her words were a bomb, rekindling the flame within. With renewed determination, Sarah plunged into her plan. "Hear us what we'll do. I'll lead, and everyone else will form a safe perimeter. We need to protect our birds and chase away this anaconda if it shows up." Each word poured forth like the first spring shower, invigorating and swirling with hopeful promises. Noah held up his toy shovel high, proclaiming, "I'll be brave like a knight." The crowd chuckled, and Sarah felt the tight band of fear around her heart loosen just slightly. And then they waited. Minutes felt like hours. The sun beat down, a relentless sentinel, while their breaths synchronized, creating a quiet orchestra of uncertainty. Suddenly, rustling in the underbrush caused everyone to tense up. Was it the anaconda? Sarah's stomach twisted. It was too soon. She positioned herself between her children and the noise, instinctively shielding them with her body. Out of the bushes, two heads emerged. Sarah's heart raced, and she gasped. They were only deer, startled and confused. Relief washed over the crowd, laughter spilling into the air like confetti. However, the sound of rustling was soon replaced by a heavy thud. Silence fell as a shadow loomed beyond the trees. Tension coiled tightly in the crowd. Sarah's eyes widened as she took a step back, fear clawing at her throat. The glittering scales caught the morning sun for just a moment, a glimpse of the beast they all dreaded. "Stay calm," Sarah shouted, but the tremor in her voice was undeniable. The crowd moved closer, their collective breath held, as the anaconda slithered into view, majestic and terrifying. With its massive girth and vibrant patterns, it coiled and uncoiled like a live wire, ready to strike at the first sign of weakness. Sarah's heart pounded. But as she looked at her children, their innocent faces brimming with courage, she felt something shift within her. This was it. She had to stand firm not only for the zoo but for her family, her town, herself. "Get ready!" she exclaimed, rallying her people. "This is what we've prepared for." As the anaconda's gaze locked onto the ostriches, they all felt the moment shift. Would this be a fight for survival, or could they learn to protect what mattered most? With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Sarah gripped the makeshift sword, her heart racing. She wondered if they truly had the strength to defend their sanctuary. Could they outsmart a creature who was born a predator? The answer loomed just ahead, waiting for them to seize it. The sun hung high in the sky, casting long, dangerous shadows as the anaconda advanced. Sarah's pulse quickened, each heartbeat echoing in her ears. She glanced around at the townspeople, faces etched with a mixture of awe and dread. Their faith was palpable. They had come not only for the zoo but to witness a stand against something terrifying. "Remember your positions," she called out, her voice stronger now, fueled by urgency. Emma pulled Noah close, whispering encouragement to him. Their little faces were alight with bravery despite the impending danger. Sarah wished she could wrap them in her arms and shield them from the world, but today called for courage from them all. The massive serpent paused, its head rising above the shrubbery, surveying the scene like a general surveying a battlefield. Its tongue flicked in and out, tasting the air. It was both unsettling and strangely beautiful, dressed in shades of green and gold, a creature born to conquer. "On my mark, we'll distract it," Sarah shouted, waving her sword, a crude stick, painted to look like a weapon. She pointed to the hay bales. "Everyone, make noise and throw these." She signaled to the children to grab the hay. They instinctively followed her lead, gathering up handfuls, ready to push back. "Wait for my cue," Sarah's heart thundered. This was more than just about the ostriches. It was about teaching her children to be brave, to protect what they loved. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. But the serpent moved again, its eyes locked onto the flock of ostriches, pecking at the ground, blissfully unaware of danger. No. Sarah's stomach plummeted. They couldn't be caught off guard. "Now!" she barked, leaping into action. With a collective shout, the townspeople hurled their hay bales towards the snake, the clumps of straw tumbling through the air like silly confetti. The distraction seemed to work. The anaconda recoiled slightly but then quickly reoriented itself, hissing as it prepared to strike. "Keep going," Sarah yelled. Emma and Noah were flinging hay with all their might, their faces determined. The townspeople rallied behind them, adding their voices to the fray, a chorus of fighting spirit filling the air. "You've got this, Mama," Emma shouted, pointing her makeshift gadget like a sword. Sarah turned to her, and for a moment, all fear melted away. Her children, her entire community had joined her. They weren't fighting alone. Suddenly, the anaconda lunged, its massive body slicing through the air like a freight train. Sarah barely had time to think. She leaped forward, instinctively raising her sword. Time slowed as she moved, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had to protect her children. She had to take the fight to the serpent, but in that split second, she felt something tugging at her heart, a flicker of doubt mixed with determination. If she charged forward, was she being reckless? Would her children be safe? The weight of leadership pressed down, each option unfolding in her mind a spectrum of what could happen next. Then she noticed the ostriches had spotted the threat. They were running now, their long legs a flurry of movement. With one last call to her community, Sarah shouted, "We need to guide them toward the safe pen. Move together." As they rallied, the anaconda turned its attention back towards the rapidly retreating ostriches. It was a race against time. They had to work together, or they could lose everything. Would they make it? Would they outsmart the predator poised to strike? The tension hung thick in the air, anticipation building in waves. The battle was far from over. As Sarah felt the adrenaline ebb and flow, she knew there was no turning back. What if they could fight not just to survive, but to reclaim their sanctuary once and for all? The outcome could change everything. The air was thick with tension, and hope flickered like a candle flame barely holding on. Sarah's heart raced as she rallied her appointed defenders. The anaconda, with a glint of malice in its eyes, began its pursuit of the ostriches. "Keep moving," Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. She could see the terror in the gazes of the children around her, their hands trembling slightly as they tossed hay bales toward the behemoth. But it wasn't enough. The snake was fast, too quick for that. "Emma! Noah!" she called, her voice rising above the clamor, "Get to the front. Guide them." Both kids nodded, fear transforming into resolute determination. They sprinted ahead, Noah looking back occasionally to ensure his little sister was keeping pace. The townspeople formed a protective ring around the ostriches, brandishing their makeshift weapons with admirable courage. Sarah was taken by the sight of them, their faces bright with purpose. Adrenaline surged through her veins as she realized she needed to take charge, to strategize. "Everyone, let us form a path," Sarah cried, inspiration striking. "We'll create barriers with more hay. It will slow the snake down." Everyone moved in sync, paralleling each other in a fervor of community spirit. Children still threw hay, as adults helped form a line. The ostriches were huddled together, spurred on by Emma and Noah's reassuring shouts. Sarah kept a watchful eye on the anaconda. It was now circling, testing their defenses. Just as they finished creating their makeshift wall, the anaconda struck again. This time, it lunged with an angry hiss, its massive body coiling like a spring. Time slowed, every heartbeat thunderous against the impending impact. But amid the chaos, Sarah spotted something. The entrance to the safe pen lay just past a small patch of open ground. If they could just get the ostriches there, they would be safe. "Toward the pen!" she yelled, urging the adults and children to focus. One unified charge. Right now. Emma and Noah were poised, rallying the little flock of ostriches. Their tiny voices rang out, "Come on! This way!" And to Sarah's amazement, the beautiful, graceful birds responded, their panic transforming into swift movement, almost as if they understood the urgency of the moment. Down went another handful of hay to lure the snake's attention, and it worked. The creature paused, muscles taut before diving again, but not without a moment of hesitance, as if assessing the path. "Now, quick!" Sarah shouted, and just as she hoped, the townspeople surged forward, arms outstretched, protecting the retreating ostriches. Miraculously, they broke through to the pen, the last of the birds diving in just as the serpent snapped close behind them. A collective sigh of relief swept through the crowd, but the battle wasn't over. The anaconda recoiled, furious at being so readily outsmarted. Its hiss echoed, laced with venomous promise. "We have to secure the pen." Sarah motioned urgently. With the last of their energy, the townspeople hurried to close the gate. Then, something unexpected happened. The ground trembled slightly, and a warm breeze luxuriously carried the scent of the zoo. The children's joyous laughter mixed with the thrill of a hard-fought victory, until a loud crash silenced it all. The gate shattered under the anaconda's might, splintering like dry straw. "Stay back!" Sarah shouted as adrenaline surged again. Her eyes wide with determination, she stepped forward. What if the greatest test lay ahead? What if they weren't finished battling this monster after all? There had to be a way to outwit the creature, but how? Would they find a solution before chaos reigned again? As they all faced the rising shadow one last time, Sarah felt the strength of her community around her, a reminder that hope could flicker even in despair. The real fight was just beginning. The anaconda surged forward, its eyes glowing with a predatory gleam that matched its fierce hiss. Sarah felt the ground shake beneath her feet as panic threatened to seep back into the hearts of those around her. The air was electrified with fear and urgency, yet something else pulsed beneath it, a fierce resolve. "Stand together!" she yelled, feeling like a conductor leading an orchestra on the edge of a cliff. "We're not done yet." Emma and Noah clung to the railing of the pen, their faces pale but fierce. "We can help!" Emma shouted, her tiny fists clenching in determination. "No!" Sarah snapped instinctively. She could see their eagerness to protect the ostriches, how each child mirrored the spirit of the adults surrounding them. Yet in her gut, she felt the weight of responsibility. "Stay back where it's safe. We need a plan." As the snake slithered closer, its massive body undulating with menacing grace, a thought struck her. Maybe they could turn the tables. If they could somehow outsmart the creature, they might just stand a chance. Sarah turned to those around her, searching for inspiration. The townspeople looked at her, expectant and anxious. "We need something to distract it, something big." Her eyes darted around, landing on the pile of old vehicle tires nearby. A plan began to form. "The tires. We can roll them toward the snake. If we can get its attention, give the ostriches time to regroup." Eager nods met her suggestion, and a renewed sense of purpose ignited as a few volunteers rushed toward the tires. It was all or nothing now. With a deep breath, Sarah steeled herself. "On my mark," she said, her heart pounding with each word. We pushed them together. The townspeople gathered with her around the tires, their arms ready to work as one. 1, 2, 3. They pushed with all their might, the tires rolling across the ground with a loud thump. The anaconda paused, its focus shifting from the pen to the chaotic movement. It snapped its head toward the noise, hissing furiously. Sarah seized the moment, shouting, "Now! Keep going!" As the tires approached, the snake lunged, trying to strike, but it was met with a barrage of rolling rubber. The impact did little but confuse it, buying precious moments of time. "Emma! Noah!" Sarah called out, her voice steadying her own racing heart. "Get ready! We're going to guide the ostriches to the back of the pen." The children lured the birds forward, their determination shining through the haze of danger. Sarah's eyes never left the anaconda. Its muscles tensed, ready to strike again, frustration palpable. Just then, something remarkable happened. A flicker of hope ignited in her chest when she noticed a group of older children, emboldened by the example set by their adults. They grabbed more hay bales, stacking them up like fortifications. "We're making a wall," one shouted, fostering a small but impactful cheer. The community wasn't just reacting, they were strategizing. Another tire rolled, and Sarah grinned. Every small victory emboldened her. "Let us keep moving. We can do this." They pushed forward, forming a circle of defense with makeshift barriers. The adrenaline surged through her veins, the weight of the moment pressing heavily on her shoulders, and she knew she could not falter now. But then, just as their defenses seemed to hold, the anaconda reeled back, tail thrashing violently. It let out a roar that reverberated, a clear sign that this clash wasn't finished. What now? Sarah thought, her heart in her throat. Just when hope felt tangible, doubt crept in. They had made it this far, but was it enough? As the anaconda reeled, Sarah's pulse quickened. We can outsmart it, she thought. But how? Desperation flickered, and the question lingered in the air. Would they find the courage to confront the monster before them, or would their moment of hope slip away? The answer loomed in the chaos. The anaconda's massive body coiled and twisted, preparing for its next move. Sarah felt sweat bead on her forehead, her heart racing. What can we do? The words echoed in her mind as she scanned the scene around her. There had to be a way to gain the upper hand. Focus! She shouted, her voice slicing through the fear-fueled haze enveloping them. Everyone was watching her, their faces painted with desperation and determination, a mix that fueled her courage. With a deep breath, she began to think on her feet. Listen! She called out. We need to create more noise. We need to distract it even more. Her gaze landed on the nearby metal feeding troughs, their surfaces rusted but sturdy. We can slam those. The noise will throw it off balance. Several volunteers jumped into action. The adults hurried towards the troughs, pulling them against the ground with a screech. Sarah joined them, the rattle grounding her focus amid the chaos. It was a split-second decision, one that could either doom them all or lead them to safety. As they banged the metal, sending loud clanging echoes through the air, the anaconda hesitated, its head swaying between the sounds and the ostriches. It hissed, a guttural sound vibrating in its throat, eyeing the commotion. Sarah caught Emma's eye. You've got to keep guiding the ostriches. They can't get trapped. Emma nodded, her tiny shoulders squared. Come on, Noah. This way. They waved their arms, urging the birds towards the far end of the pen. The ostriches, sensing freedom, began to move, their long legs flapping powerfully. Now! Sarah yelled as the anaconda's attention wavered. The adults lifted the troughs higher, banging harder. The sound echoed, drowning out the rhythm of the snake's slithering, but then, just as hope shimmered bright, the anaconda lunged toward them, snapping its jaws in a furious arc. Sarah felt the ground shake beneath her. Panic surged. Keep pushing. Don't stop. She shouted, her voice ringing clear over the chaos. The townspeople rallied, banging the troughs harder, desperate for attention. For a heartbeat, the anaconda hesitated, caught in the thunderous symphony of sound. Sarah's heart raced as she saw the captivating glint of determination reflected in her neighbor's eyes. Together, they weren't just fighting for the ostriches, they were fighting for each other. Noah! Emma! Get behind the wall! Sarah pointed urgently as they maneuvered the last of the hay bales. With quick hands, they fashioned a makeshift barrier, a desperate attempt to fortify their stand as the snake began to rear back again, preparing to lunge. What if it doesn't work? The doubt crept into her mind like a shadow. But as she glanced at the children, their innocence flickering amid the tension, she sensed something deeper within her. It was a bond, a community spirit willing to face overwhelming odds together. Then, in a flash of inspiration, she shouted, "We need fire. Can someone grab those torches?" She waved her arm toward the pile of camping gear nearby, praying her words would spark action. On it! Came a voice from the group, a young man sprinting toward the supplies as the older kids continued to distract the snake. The roar of the anaconda filled the air again, but the resolve of the teen was unwavering. Almost there. Sarah called, digging deeper into her reservoir of strength. They were close, so close. But would it be enough in the face of the raging beast? As the anaconda let out another terrifying hiss, preparing to lash out, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite inside her. This battle was far from over. Would they truly manage to outsmart the creature, or would their bravest stand prove futile against the oncoming storm? The answer hung in the air, heavy and unrealized. Suddenly, just as hope began to flicker, the young man's voice cut through the noise. "I've got the torches." He emerged from the shadows, arms full of flickering flames, casting an orange glow that danced against the chaos. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the flames flickered to life, illuminating faces filled with fear and determination. "Sarah!" he shouted. "What do I do?" "Wave them. Use the light." Sarah instructed, her voice cutting clear through the chaos as she pointed toward the anaconda. The serpent was still coiling, but its attention was divided, darting back and forth, caught between its instinct and the new threat presented by the flames. The young man, still slightly out of breath, rallied to her command. He waved the torches high, sending arcs of light that flared against the darkening sky. The snake recoiled momentarily, clearly startled by the unfamiliar visual assault. "It hates fire," someone shouted from the back, igniting a newfound surge of urgency among the group. "Noah! Emma! Help me!" Sarah shouted, her heart pounding as she traded in her fear for action. The children clambered up beside her, grabbing torches of their own. Together, with a united front, they raised the torches, swirling them in unison. The flames flickered and crackled, performing a dance of desperation. The anaconda hissed in protest, its massive body twisting, as if considering its options. "Keep it busy. Keep it moving," Sarah cried out. She felt a thrill pulse through her, a connection to the community that had banded together when faced with this terrifying threat. The noise from the troughs combined with the flames flickering brightly turned the pen into a chaotic battleground, a symphony of defiance. But even as they pressed forward, the fear lingered in the air, thick and palpable. Sarah felt it gnawing at her stomach, threatening to pull her under. What if they failed? What if this creature turned and charged at them, a force of nature they couldn't control? Her thoughts were interrupted as the anaconda lunged again, its head snapping dangerously close to the nearest torch. "Fear! Don't let it in!" Sarah shouted, rallying their nerves. Some of the adults continued dancing the feeding troughs, the cacophony pushing back against the looming shadows of despair. They weren't just spectators anymore, they were part of something larger, an unyielding force against the dark and the chaos. Sarah caught a glimpse of something that stopped her breath, a small opening behind the anaconda. It was an escape route. But for a moment, fear gave way to a spark of reasoning. "Emma! Noah!" she called, trying to keep her voice steady. "We need to steer it away from the exit. Can you help create a path?" They nodded with a seriousness only the gravity of the situation demanded. The community battled the serpent like a well-oiled machine, fearlessness riding the waves of their unity. But as they jostled torches and pounded the ground, Sarah saw the anaconda's gaze harden on their tiny silhouettes. It thrummed with primal instinct, and fear threatened to steal the hope she fought to hold on to. Would the fire be enough to protect them, or had they merely enraged the beast? The air was thick with tension as the snake began flexing its muscles, preparing itself for a final, fierce onslaught. Everything seemed to hang in the balance, the forces of nature versus the bonds of community. The clash was nearing, and Sarah felt a hurricane of emotion swirl inside her. "It's now or never!" she yelled, a jolt of adrenaline coursing through her veins. Would they finally push the monster back, or would they become something it devoured? With courage that felt almost fragile but undeniably fierce, Sarah was ready to face the unknown. The next few moments would decide everything. Would they reclaim their safety and protect their loved ones? Or would fear's bowstring snap, unleashing chaos into their lives forever? The air crackled with anticipation as Sarah prepared to make her move. The anaconda twitched, its dark scales glistening under the torchlight, muscles rippling beneath its skin. Each tremor of its body seemed to echo the pounding of her heart. "Now!" she screamed, her voice rising above the din. Together, they swung their torches towards the creature, flaring the flames harder, hoping to drive it back. The anaconda hissed, a sound as chilling as it was fierce, acknowledging their challenge. It lunged again, jaws snapping. The group jumped back, instincts pulling them away from the sudden onslaught. "Steady! Keep moving!" Sarah urged, never letting her eyes leave its glistening eyes. She felt a desperate hope take root within her. Noah and Emma kept circling, their determined faces illuminating the seriousness of their task. "You got this," Emma whispered to her brother, gripping her torch tight. They were pushing the beast toward the wall, inch by inch, but it was still too close. Then came a moment when Sarah saw a flicker of uncertainty in the snake's eyes, a chink in its armor. "It's backing down," she breathed, incredulous. "Just keep it distracted." A voice came from the back. Sarah turned. It was a neighbor, an older man named Henry who had joined the battle later. He was waving his own torch and shouting encouragement, which rallied the crowd. "What if we all charge together?" Sarah thought, fear and adrenaline battling inside her. "If we push it hard enough." She swallowed, glancing around at her friends and neighbors. They were all in this together, united against the threat. But to organize a charge? That was another leap. "Everyone. On my mark, let us go." She could feel the collective breath of the crowd, as they sized up the reptile. Fear danced in their eyes along with determination. 1, 2, 3. They surged forward, their torches held high, creating a wall of light that pushed the anaconda back. With every step, Sarah felt the surge of courage swell within her. The flames roared, cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope. The anaconda, its instincts on high alert, twisted violently, trying to retreat from the advancing humans. But they were no longer just frightened souls, they were a united front, pushing back against fear itself. Suddenly, amidst the chaos, Sarah spotted a small child, pinned against a fence, wide eyes reflecting pure terror. The sight shocked her core. "Emma! Noah! We have to help that kid." She felt a bolt of determination rush through her. "Keep them distracted," she called out as she sprinted towards the child, her heart racing. The world around her narrowed, all that mattered was reaching the terrified grasp of innocence. The torches flickered behind her, she could hear the frantic movements wash over the pen like waves crashing against a shore. "Hey, it's okay," Sarah reassured, her voice steady despite the panic inside her. "I'm right here." She crouched low, wrapping her arms around the child. But as she turned back, she felt the tremor of the ground shift, a warning that the creature was gearing up for another attack. The energy shifted, the room held its breath. "We have to hurry," she yelled, the urgency ratcheted up. They were moments away from saving one life, but risking the fate of everyone else. As they started to back away, Sarah's eyes darted back to the anaconda, and she noticed something disturbing. The creature wasn't just coiling, it seemed to be gathering its strength for one last charge, a desperate fight for survival. Would they manage to escape this deadly dance, or would the last act of defiance ignite a chaos that would swallow them whole? The answer hung in the air, tethered to each heartbeat. The ground shook beneath Sarah's feet, the weight of the looming threat felt in every corner of her being. She had the child secured in her arms, but the urgency to flee was palpable. "We need to move. Now!" she shouted, her heart thundering in sync with the restless snake. They backed away slowly, keeping their torches leveled at the creature. The anaconda, poised and ready, looked both fierce and terrifyingly beautiful. Its scales glimmered in the light, a dark mosaic filled with life and danger. "Everyone, stay close," Noah called out, his voice cutting through the tension like a steel blade. The group had reformed around Sarah, their faces filled with fear, but determination burned brightly in their eyes. "On 3, we run," Sarah said, glancing back at the child whose tiny frame shivered against her. 1, 2, 3. They sprinted, the echoes of their footsteps a frantic chorus against the night. The torches flared high, every flicker a reflection of their courage. But behind them, the anaconda unfurled, its muscles tensed, ready to strike. "Go! Go! Go!" Emma urged, her voice reaching out like a lifeline. The group pushed forward, a tide of humanity fueled by instinct and adrenaline. Just a few more steps, they needed just a bit more time. In the chaos, Sarah felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Noah. "I'll take the kid. You lead us out." His eyes brimming with resolve showed he wasn't backing down. "No, we've got to stick together." Sarah protested, torn between helping the child and ensuring her brother's safety. No. Trust me. His voice was a command, and Sarah's heart sank. She knew he would be fine, but the thought of separating sent a shiver down her spine. Reluctantly, she nodded. Okay. Just keep moving. Noah grabbed the child gently, shifting the weight so he could carry her. It was an act of bravery that made Sarah proud. They darted through the narrow spaces, darting past trees and fences until they reached an open area. The moon illuminated a clearing, and for a fleeting moment, the urgency slackened. Sarah turned back, catching sight of everyone else still focused, but they had to get even farther. Suddenly, the anaconda lunged, crashing through the foliage, sending leaves flying like confetti. It snapped near Noah's heels, and Sarah screamed, "Run!" With every ounce of strength they had, the group pressed on. Sarah felt panic clawing at her throat, urging her to look back. But they had to push onwards. The clearing ahead beckoned, she could see the safety of the houses beyond it, a glimmer of hope shining through the darkness. Finally, they reached the edge of the forest. This way. Quick. To the yard. Sarah pointed, and they stumbled forward, inhaling the crisp air heavy with the scent of grass and distant safety. They paused on the lawn, breathing heavily, eyes wide, an overwhelming mix of relief and disbelief swirling within them. Then, like thunder erupting from a storm, the creature forced its way through the brush, ready to attack again. Get inside. Sarah shouted, urgency melding with determination. They bolted towards the front door, hearts racing, the anaconda tailing just behind. As the door slammed shut, the sound reverberated in the night, but it was not the end. The creature thumped against the wood, furious and relentless. They were not safe yet, but they had come together, ready to face whatever came next. In the stillness that followed, Sarah felt the weight of her decisions crash over her. What would happen now? Did they have enough strength to defend against the snake? And what if it found another way in? The silence that enveloped them was thick, each person held their breath, the tension like a tightening rope. One thing was clear, survival was only the beginning of their fight. But as the darkness pressed against the door, Sarah felt something shift. Inside her, a fierce resolve grew. This time, they would not be caught off guard. She glanced around at her friends and family, the faces so familiar yet molded by fear. Everyone, we need a plan, she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside. As she began to strategize, a strange sound caught her attention. Was that a hissing coming from outside? What lay hidden in the shadows, waiting to be unveiled? With a tense silence hanging in the air, Sarah's eyes darted around the group. They were battered, hearts racing, but the knowledge that they had already faced the fiercest of fears bound them together in a bond of resilience. We're going to reclaim the zoo, she said, her voice stronger now, building on the strength shared among them. But we need to be smarter. We need to be united. Her words ignited something within the group. The flickering of hope began to glow again, a flame they weren't willing to let extinguish. They were not just survivors, they were a community. Quickly, Sarah set a plan in motion. We'll create a diversion. While some of us distract the anaconda, others will gather supplies from the zoo to fortify our defenses. The adults nodded, the gravity of their purpose grounding every expectation. Emma and Noah, eyes wide with the thrill of action, chimed in, "We'll help." "Yes, you will," Sarah replied, a warmth washing over her at their enthusiasm. "You're going to show the ostriches how to stay calm and guide them. If we can just get them familiar with the pen and the spotlights, they might learn to be their own protectors." They raced back outside, the thick scent of the damp earth grabbing at their senses, almost drumming the pulse of urgency in their ears. The anaconda still lurked nearby, its shadow flickering against the trees, watching and waiting. But this time, they wouldn't be afraid. As they embarked on their mission, unity blossomed. The townsfolk formed small groups, each with a specific goal. A few held the torches high, warding off the darkness and the threat lurking just beyond their periphery. Others hurried to the zoo, gathering ropes, hay bales, and anything they could use to fortify their position. When they reached the zoo, the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a brilliant orange glow against the dusky sky. It was beautiful, and yet, they faced the most dangerous stretch of their lives. Sarah smiled at the sight of her children, heads held high, filled with a determination that could inspire 1,000 hearts. "Let us lead the way," Emma shouted, guiding her brother with her tiny hand. They opened the doors to the pen, and the vibrant red-crowned ostriches peered at them as if sensing the imminent threat. With quick thinking, Sarah instructed everyone to pair up, creating groups that could maneuver more easily within the pen. The older children helped to distract the snake. With shouts and movements, they coordinated a circle around the pen, swirling torches, creating a blanket of light. The whispers of encouragement to the ostriches felt like a safe cocoon, a reminder that they were not alone in this fight. The anaconda was aware of their movements now, its attention flickering between the children and the frantic escape of the retreating ostriches. With fervor, the close-knit families cheered on their respective contributions. The vibe transformed from fear to bravery, and as Sarah watched her children command calm from the birds, her heart soared. They were all teaching each other strength. Suddenly, something shifted. The anaconda, threatened by the light and the sheer volume of their united chants, retreated slightly, recoiling in synchronicity with the rising hope among them. Sarah felt the tremors of victory prickle at her fingertips. "Together!" she yelled, and they charged forward, pushing back against the specter threatening their lives. With each hurried step, the community wrapped around the ostriches to lead them back into the safety of the pen. They finally saw the creature shifting nervously. Fear spawned from their unity became apparent in the serpent's hesitance to charge. A wild cheer erupted as the last of the ostriches spilled into the enclosure and the pen was secured. They had done it. They turned to each other, awe and relief washing over them in waves of laughter and joy. "We are safe," Sarah shouted, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. As they hugged, faces aglow in the last light of dusk, she realized they had fought not just for the ostriches but for their shared dreams, their tears, their laughter, all the things that bound them together like the roots of a tree. They emerged stronger and braver than ever before. Willow Creek was not just a town, it was a family. "Now let us keep watch tonight to protect our sanctuary," Sarah said, still breathing a sigh of relief mixed with exhilaration. The bonds of community were clearer now. They guarded one another fiercely, and as they settled in for a long night, they regrouped, shared stories, and awaited any lingering threat with stoic resolve. No longer just a zoo, Willow Creek had become a testament to the spirit of community where love fought against the darkness and emerged into the dawn. In one final act of victory, Sarah looked out at her kids, her friends, her family. "This is only the beginning," she whispered as a smile graced her lips. A new dawn awaited them, bright and full of promise. Now is the time. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire courage and community. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help bring these uplifting tales to even more people. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel and uplifting each other.